Hey guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you my first impressions plus on-feet video of the brand new Adidas Ace 16.1 Court, which is an indoor shoe in the solar green colorway. Now inside the box, all you get are the shoes themselves. They do not come with any extras. So let me get these guys out of the box really quickly, and we'll take a closer look at a very interesting new pair of indoors from Adidas, the Ace 16.1 CT, which stands for Court. Now this guy has a retail price of $110 US. This is going to be the top end indoor model in the new Ace 16.1 lineup. And keep in mind that this shoe is only available in an indoor variation, not in a turf variation. So in today's video, we're going to be going over all of the tech specs and features that this shoe has on offer. You get a mesh upper, a very interesting indoor bottom, boost foam is used in the midsole. It's a really, really cool set of features that we're going to be highlighting in the video. We're going to take a look at the weight, as well as talk about how these things fit and feel on feet. So if you're interested in learning more about this particular shoe, please stick around, watch the entire video. If you're interested in a pair of these for yourself, be sure to check out the review page on my website. That'll be the very first link down below in the description of this video. On that page, you'll find Buy It Now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes, where you'll be able to pick these guys up below their normal $110 retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. And with that being said, let's get right into the review. To start things off, let's go over all of the tech specs, because there's a lot of new and interesting things happening here on the Ace 16.1 Court. Now the upper is obviously very distinctive looking. It looks knitted, it's not. It's technically a mesh upper, so this is not Adidas's prime knit material. Keep that in mind, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. So the synthetic doesn't really have a name. It's just what they're calling a 3-layer mesh upper. So what you basically have is a base layer of mesh, a polyurethane layer on top, and then extra fuse on top of that. But that's not technically what makes up the entire upper. There's another layer on the inside that we'll talk about in just a second. Now, as far as how that mesh upper actually feels, it doesn't span the entire shoe, it spans the front part. So basically from this seam going forward all the way through the midfoot, toe box, forefoot area, and cutting off at the exact same point here on the medial side, that's where you're gonna find this mesh material that's actually quite thin and very soft and flexible. This shoe feels really good in hand out of the box and really good on your feet out of the box. There's really no stiffness to this material, which is great, but it doesn't feel flimsy either, which is obviously going to be a big concern with any type of kind of knitted or mesh type or mesh based upper. So like I said, in terms of reinforcement, these things feel pretty tough. So you have that mesh base that's on the thinner side, so you're gonna get more of a thin touch on the ball, but with a little bit of a padded sensation to it as well, just because of the type of material that they've used, plus the internal liner we'll talk about in just a second. You have your polyurethane layer on top, which acts as more of a protective layer, and it does have little cutouts, as you guys can see going down the side, where the color changes a little bit. It's pretty difficult to see, but where the color is a little bit lighter, that's where there's actually little cutouts in the actual polyurethane layer. I think they did that, one, for flexibility, and two, just to give it a certain look. It's not something that I think is gonna have a major impact on performance, but it will allow for a little bit of breathability, which is kind of cool, I suppose, if that's your thing. Also, again, it's really gonna protect the top layer of the upper. The final kind of performance layer that you're going to find on this shoe is actually this blue, or this very, very dark blue graphic you see running across the top of the forefoot and here on the medial side. It looks like kind of just a design element, and it really doesn't have any bulk or thickness to it, but it's actually a rubberized grip material. It's what they're calling non-stop grip, which obviously we do see on the current Ace and X 15.1 models, but this one is actually a rubberized type texture as opposed to just being slightly sticky like you find on the normal grip dots of the X 15.1 and Ace 15.1. So it's a thin upper with a slight padded sensation to it, plus a little bit of added grip from this little element they've incorporated on the surface of the upper, which I think is a really cool set of features. It feels really good, both on foot as well as in terms of making contact with the ball, and it's just a pretty cool looking shoe in general, at least in my opinion. You're gonna have more fuse layers going around the outside edge, especially here around the laces, just to reinforce that mesh upper so nothing tears through or anything like that. Like I said, it feels very, very solid despite the majority of the upper being very soft and flexible. Laces run through the middle, as you guys can see. Nothing too fancy about that. And then when you get to the top, the actual tongue part is kind of what's unique, because it looks like it's one piece. at least from this side, but on this side you can see that it unattaches. So you would think it's actually a burrito style tongue, where the tongue actually is one piece on the inside and then flows to the outside where it's unattached, but that's not actually the case. I removed the laces here so you can see exactly what's going on. What it is basically is an internal kind of booty, I guess is the best way to put it, where it's attached to the base of the sole here on the medial side and also attached on the lateral side directly to this part of the upper, and it extends all the way to the outsole as well. So you have this internal enclosure inside the shoe that also acts as a reinforcement layer inside this thinner mesh material. So again, while it looks pretty thin from the outside, you have all of this thickness plus the thickness of this kind of padded mesh internal booty on the inside of the shoe as well. So again, it's not quite as thin as you might expect it to be, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It actually feels pretty cool. And this material is nice. It's slightly elasticated, so it just has a little bit of stretch to it. And once you get your foot inside there, even prior to tying the laces tight, you get that nice snug fit. So it has kind of a one-piece sensation without feeling restrictive or anything like that, which I think is a really, really cool feature and just an interesting way of doing things. Having this little unattached part just makes the shoe easier to put on and take off, which is really, really nice. Moving on to the back of the shoe, you are going to find an internal plastic heel counter. It does have kind of this neoprene material going around the edge, like you would find on an X15.1. Really has nothing to do with impacting the performance whatsoever. The heel liner is kind of a synthetic suede type material, very, very smooth and decent amount of padding back there as well. So step-in comfort and general lockdown in the heel is very, very good. The back material on the shoe is kind of just an open padded mesh, just to reduce weight. It's not something that's going to impact performance in any way at all. The insole is technically removable, although it is kind of halfway glued in, and it's not really designed to be a removable insole. You can see it's just a pretty standard layer of foam with a mesh liner on top, which is nothing too fancy. But what's cool is that you actually have a boost foam midsole here, at least the heel area. So basically what boost foam is, for those that don't know, it looks like styrofoam if you've never seen it before, but it's actually a very, very interesting and great performing performance foam. You see it a lot in their running line, their basketball line more and more. They've implemented it in pretty much everything except for I guess it's been in soccer shoes before. We've had kind of more full-length boost foam outsoles, but the boost isn't super noticeable. But on this shoe, they did a good job of allowing you to actually sit directly on top of the boost in the heel area. So what's kind of cool about this is you get a little bit of boost at the heel, so if you're running and heel striking, you're really going to notice the responsiveness from this type of foam. Essentially what makes it different from regular foam is that instead of being one solid piece, it's made from little tiny capsules that are essentially kind of fused together or compressed together. So instead of having one large piece of foam that compresses and bounces back, you have a bunch of little pieces that aren't technically foam, they're actually some different type of plastic that allows each individual capsule to compress and bounce back. And it just makes for a more responsive sensation than a traditional foam layout would provide. So very, very cool feature. It's not super noticeable on this particular shoe, I'm gonna be completely honest with you guys, but when you are kind of flat-footed and bouncing around on your heels, I suppose, you definitely do feel that boost foam, and you can see it goes right to the bottom. Only have a little bit of rubber here separating it from the bottom of the shoe, and if you lift up the heel insole, you can actually lift up the insole in the heel area, you can see the boost foam is right there as well. So it's completely exposed, which is really, really nice. But the rest of the shoe is fairly low profile as far as cushioning is concerned. So if you're somebody who really likes a lot of underfoot cushioning, this is still not the shoe for you, because the rest of the shoe, the midfoot, the forefoot, and the toe area is just this thin layer of fairly firm foam. So the majority of the cushioning that you're going to get from the rest of the shoe is actually from the insole itself. So you're close to the ground, very low profile. The shoes are extremely flexible. There's no plastic in the construction whatsoever. But again, you're getting that little bit of extra cushioning in the heel, which is a nice feature. It's kind of a unique thing that you can't really get from any other shoe at the moment. And I think it's a more a better implementation of boost foam than what we've seen in the past from Adidas in their kind of indoor soccer or street soccer lineup, at least in my opinion. As far as the outsole is concerned, this is the indoor court bottom. It's the only variation or only bottom you can get on this particular shoe. It's pretty much completely smooth, as you can see. There's a little bit of texturing to it. It's made from a nice kind of solid rubber, and given that you're on a clean indoor court, the traction is going to be very, very good. The traction is going to be equally as good on concrete or any kind of street soccer environment. But if you're on an indoor court that is a little bit on the dusty side, side, something like this, because it is so solid as far as the pattern is concerned, it won't work the best just because it's going to clog up and kind of fill up with dust pretty easily. So it's going to be pretty important to wipe off the bottom of the sole with your hand as often as possible to maintain good traction. But like I said, on clean courts, and especially on concrete and any kind of street soccer environment, this is going to provide really, really good traction and also pretty good durability because it is such a solid kind of traction pattern with more rubber than little cutouts. So really, really good layout, really, really cool shoe, interesting design, interesting materials, a lot of kind of never been done before elements on this particular shoe that I'm personally really, really excited about. This reminds me a lot of the first generation Nike Hypervenom Phantom, which a lot of people really like that shoe. And this kind of has some of those really unique elements in this particular model as well. So like I said, can't wait to try these things out. Let me know your thoughts on them down below in the comment section. And with that being said, let's move on to a quick weigh-in so we can see how lightweight these guys are. So to find out how much these things weigh, we're going to weigh them right now in real time using this scale. So keep in mind, this is a brand new pair in a size 9 US. We're going to throw them on the scale, and you can see that they weigh in at 8.9 ounces, just under the 9-ounce mark, the equivalent of 253 grams. So as far as weight goes for a pair of indoor shoes, these things are pretty lightweight. Of course, you can get lighter indoor shoes. There are some available, but you're not necessarily going to get that extra cushioning in the heel. And if I'm completely honest with you guys, they feel lighter than 8.9 ounces, both in hand as well as on feet. So again, not the lightest indoor shoe that money can buy, but certainly not a shoe that's going to weigh you down whatsoever. Aesthetically, I'm a big fan of the Ace 16.1 Court. Obviously, it does share the same 3 Adidas stripes on the lateral side of the heel that we currently have from the Ace 16 Plus Techers shoe. So that's something that I think you're going to see consistent across the entire Ace 16 line. But overall, it's a pretty interesting looking shoe. Obviously very modern. This is definitely one of the brighter colorways that we're likely going to see, being that the majority of the upper is solar green, which is kind of like a lime green color. And you have different shades of green because you have all these different materials at the heel, the kind of fuse on top, obviously the upper itself, and then you have little accents of a black color. I believe they have it listed as kind of a dark navy blue, but it definitely does look black to me, especially in person. So you have that in the swoosh, the liner, the laces, as well as the majority of the midsole. You have a little bit of pink right here at the top of the lacing system, but that's pretty much it, aside from the small pink Adidas logo at the bottom of the shoe. You have, of course, the white Boost foam. Boost foam is always white in color, that never changes, and the entire outsole is gray in color. So overall, I think it's a pretty good looking shoe. It definitely is not for everybody, but again, everyone has their opinions. Let me know yours down below in the comment section. Do you like how these look? Why or why not? And with that being said, let's move on to the on-feet portion of the video so we can get a better idea as to how these shoes fit and, of course, what the sizing is like. All right, so here is a look at the Ace 16.1 Courts on feet. On my left foot, I have the stock black laces that come with the shoes. And on my right foot, I have a pair of neon pink and black grid pattern SR4U replacement laces. If you're interested in a pair of replacement laces for yourself, the website to go to is www.sr4ulaces.com. You find a direct link to that website down below in the description of this video. Now, in terms of how these things fit and feel on feet, they are very, very comfortable out of the box. The only thing that you're going to notice about these that's a little bit unusual is when you actually put them on for the first time, and that the opening isn't as big as you would expect it to be based on how it actually looks. It's a pretty snug fit when you're sliding your foot inside the shoe for the first time, but once they're in there, very, very comfortable. But that will make this shoe a little bit more restrictive if you have really, really wide feet. So just keep that in mind. But for the most part, as long as you can get them on, they'll be suitable for most people. As far as the overall comfort is concerned, the knitted upper, or sorry, the mesh upper, I should say, is very soft, very flexible. The sole plate doesn't have any plastic to it, so it's very flexible as well. And they just feel really, really good. It's low profile in the forefoot and midfoot area, whereas in the heel, you get that little bit of cushioning from the Boost foam, which feels really, really good. It's kind of unusual to have such a low profile sensation, at the same time so much cushioning in the heel, but it feels good. I have not complaining whatsoever. Laces run through the middle, which feels good. You can get them nice and tight. And again, despite the actual mesh upper being so soft and flexible, they feel pretty responsive. Your foot's locked in place quite nicely. Width-wise, like I said, the opening's a little bit small, but once your foot's actually in the shoe, they will be suitable for most people. But as far as stretching is concerned, they aren't really going to stretch. The way they fit from right out of the box is the way they're going to fit for their entire lifespan. And as far as sizing is concerned, I'm wearing my usual size 9 US here, and the fit and the length is absolutely perfect. So if you are looking to order a pair of these for yourself, I would strongly recommend going true to size in order to achieve the best possible fit. All right, guys, that is it for my review of the Adidas Ace 16.1 Court Indoor shoe. Expect to see more follow-up content on this shoe in the very near future. Can't wait to get some more playing time in these things. In the meantime, if you guys are looking for more info, be sure to check out the review page on my website. That'll be the very first link down below in the description of this video. On that page, you'll find high quality images of this exact pair that I took myself. That'll give you a better idea as to how these things actually do look in person, as well as buy it now links with exclusive SR4U coupon codes. We will be able to pick these guys up below their normal $110 retail price. So again, if you're interested in a pair, first link down below, go ahead and check it out. If you have any questions at all regarding this particular shoe, leave them down below in the comments, and I definitely will get an answer out to you. If you enjoyed today's video, found it helpful and informative, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. All my social media information is linked in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.